Okay, so in our last lecture, we have finished our SEO component. However, if you try to compile it, you might run in that error because I've made a little mistake here. So whenever you see expected an assignment or function call, go ahead and change your brackets. For example, here I'm using those curly brackets. But whenever we have components like that, we need to return our JSX. So in order to do that, we can either change our brackets like that, like those brackets, the normal ones, and this should compile correctly, or you can use the curly brackets and type return over here and put your static query inside that return over here. So this is going to compile correctly as well. So I prefer to use the normal brackets as it is going to be more clear for us. So let's change those and format it and see, remove the return statement here and format it, and this is compiling correct now. So now what we would need to do is to go in our primary layout, and we would need to import our SEO component. Now here we're going to use the default title and description and keywords for our blog. So let's just import SEO from our components directory, components SEO, and now here on top of our header we would want to import our SEO component. So this is going to use the default SEO descriptions, titles, and etc. that we have configured in our site metadata. So now what we would need to do is use the same component in our blog post layout, and for each and every blog post we would need to use different titles. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. Let's import our SEO on top from our components SEO, and now here we would need to provide our image, our title. We would also want our excerpt for our description, and we might need our categories to be used as keywords. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. Currently we are searching for our blog post by a slug, and we're returning our content and our title. So let's copy this and go in our GraphQL here. Okay, now let's change our slug to be constant. I remember that I had solidity tutorial slug, and we're returning everything correctly. Let's comment out our content because it's too much for it to be displayed. Now what we would want to get is our featured media source URL. We would also want our categories, and we want the name of those categories. Let's prettify that, and those are going to be used as keywords. I'm going to show you later how. And what we also need here is our excerpt. Okay, and let's not forget our content on top. And if we query that, we're going to get everything. Okay, so let's copy this query and change that in our query in GraphQL here. Format that. Okay, so now we're ready to import our SEO component on top. Let's type SEO, close the tag, and now here we would want to provide our title. That's going to be equal to our post. Remember that we're getting our post data from data WordPress post. So here we can access our title we would also want to provide our description to be equal to our post dot excerpt. And now we would also want to provide our image to be equal to post featured media dot source underscore URL. Okay, now the last thing that we would want to provide here is our keywords. This is going to be a little bit trickier because this is going to be provided from our GraphQL as an array of objects, and it's going to provide the name of our categories like that. But we want them to be comma separated. So let's do that with the map. So let's type keywords to be equal to post categories, and we want to map those. And for each result, we want to return result.name. So this is going to create an array basically of Solidity and tutorial. However, we don't want our array like that. We want it to be separated by comma, and we want it as a string. So in order to do that, we need to join those. So let's type join. And here we need to type comma and space. And this is going to separate our values by comma. So let's go ahead and check our web page here. Whether or not the keywords are provided correctly. So let's go inside blog post and inspect our web page. Let's maximize it, and in our head here we have our description and our keywords, as you can see. Okay, now although that we have correctly created our keywords here, and we have our keyword Solidity and tutorial, we would want to change our description, our image, and our title here. Now, if you look closely in our description, we are using HTML tags, and we want to avoid that. In our image section here, we have a mistake, and we're providing a corrupt URL. And in our title, we also have escaped HTML tags. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's open our Visual Studio Code to the side here, and let's take a look at our SEO component. So now here we would want to provide our image whenever we have our image. So we're going to use inline if here. We want to provide our image, otherwise we want to return our URL plus the default image location. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what has compiled here. Let's see our image, and it seems to be corrected. Okay, move that to the side. Okay, so now in order to get the inner text of our description here, which is provided by HTML, we would need to search our npm for a package basically, which is called inner text. And you would want to get that inner text, you want to install it. So let's stop our Gatsby project. And let's type npm I inner text -- save, and we want to install that package. This will help us get the inner text of our HTML, and it's going to remove all the tags, and it's going to unencode the tags here like this in the title that we have here. So let's just wait for it to install. And in the meantime, let's just import it. Import inner text from inner text. and it's basically used by providing it as a function. And let's see, we need that also on our title. Okay, and now let's go ahead and type Gatsby develop again, and let's wait for it to compile and see what the results are. Okay, so now we have recompiled our project here. Let's go ahead and refresh our page, and let's see our head here. Okay, as you can see, our description looks fine, and as well as our title. So this is it for this lecture. We're going to continue to the next one.